Every generation has its heroes. While children once admired cosmonauts, scientists, and athletes, today entirely new figures have ascended to the pedestal: influencers. Millions of subscribers, billions of views, incredible power over minds and hearts. The digital age has given birth to a cultural phenomenon whose scale is difficult to overestimate. Young viewers spend, on average, 2 to 6 hours daily observing the lives of their virtual idols. They absorb not only entertaining content, but also values, views, and behavioral models. Influencers shape ideas about beauty, success, relationships, and even what it means to be a happy person. The influence of these new cultural heroes extends far beyond entertainment. They become the unspoken educators of an entire generation. But how authentic are the ideals being broadcast? What lies behind the filtered facades of ideal lives? And how can we teach children to perceive this content critically, without losing the ability to admire talent and achievements? Behind perfect smiles and impeccable interiors lies a subtle psychological mechanism that transforms ordinary people into objects of adoration. Influencers masterfully create an illusion of closeness. They speak from the screen as if addressing you personally, sharing intimate thoughts and daily routines. Psychologists call this phenomenon parasocial relationships. The viewer feels a deep connection with someone who is not even aware of their existence. You know your favorite blogger better than some friends, their habits, pets, favorite dishes. But this is a one-sided intimacy, creating a powerful emotional attachment. Engagement techniques are becoming increasingly sophisticated. Direct appeals to the audience, questions you want to answer, calls to action. Write in the comments, like if you agree. These simple phrases activate the mechanism of reciprocity. The brain reacts as if you are genuinely participating in a dialogue. Gradually, not just attachment, but a true emotional dependence forms. Influencers become not just entertainment, but significant figures whose values, preferences, and lifestyle begin to be perceived as exemplary. Their lives seem perfect, and therefore worthy of imitation. Thus, imperceptibly to themselves, viewers adopt others' standards of beauty, success, and happiness, without even realizing that these standards were artificially constructed. Behind the perfect pictures on social media lies an entire industry of illusions. That impeccable breakfast against the ocean backdrop? It got cold while the influencer took 40 takes. That spontaneous joy on their face, the result of 20 attempts to capture a natural smile. That luxurious interior? Rented for 2 hours specifically for a photo shoot. Modern social platforms have transformed into showcases of retouched lives, where every shot passes through dozens of filters and applications. Digital perfection has become the norm, not the exception. Programs for body shaping, improving skin tone, even altering room architecture, all of this creates a parallel reality that exists only on smartphone screens. Young viewers, lacking experience in critical media perception, accept this constructed reality as genuine. They don't see the hours-long shoots, the team of assistants behind the scenes, the professional photographers and stylists. To them, this life looks natural and, what is especially dangerous, achievable. Constant comparison of one's own everyday life with filtered versions of others' lives leads to destructive consequences. A sense of one's own inadequacy, the feeling that you are constantly falling behind some invisible standard, becomes the backdrop of existence for an entire generation. This phenomenon has been dubbed the Instagram paradox. The more time a person spends looking at the perfect lives of others, the less happy they feel. Teenagers, whose self-esteem is still forming, are especially vulnerable. For them, the gap between observed perfection and their own reality becomes a source of constant stress. The constant consumption of idealized content leaves deep traces in the psyche of a young person. Every day, young viewers immerse themselves in a world where everyone is successful, happy, and flawless. Studies paint a troubling picture. Teenagers who spend more than 3 hours daily on social media are twice as likely to report symptoms of anxiety and depression. This is not a coincidence, but a natural consequence of continuous comparison. The brain does not distinguish between real and virtual social interactions, perceiving influencers as part of its environment. When everyone around seems more successful and happier, a primitive mechanism of social comparison is activated. Self-esteem plummets, and a feeling of inadequacy arises. Adolescent girls are particularly vulnerable, for whom visual platforms become a source of unrealistic beauty standards. Surveys show that 7 out of 10 girls experience dissatisfaction with their bodies after viewing content on Instagram. This leads to eating disorders, anxiety, and avoidance of social contact. No less dangerous is FOMO, the fear of missing out. Observing the endless series of exciting events in the lives of influencers, teenagers begin to perceive their own lives as boring and empty. An obsessive desire arises to constantly check for updates, a fear of disconnecting from the information flow for even a few hours. This addiction destroys the ability to enjoy the present moment and appreciate real relationships. Behind the beautiful facade of influencer culture lies a powerful economic machine. Every like, view, and comment is converted into real money. The influence industry is currently valued at tens of billions of dollars and continues to grow rapidly. But what happens when ideals become a commodity? When audience admiration turns into a marketing asset? Influencers, who started as genuine enthusiasts, gradually transform into walking advertising platforms. Spontaneity gives way to carefully crafted monetization strategies. Behind the scenes are entire teams, managers, marketers, analysts, developing optimal schemes for converting attention into profit. Advertising integrations are becoming increasingly sophisticated and unobtrusive. A casual conversation about everyday life imperceptibly flows into a recommendation for a particular brand. The lines between genuine opinion and paid advertising are blurred beyond recognition. Young viewers often fail to recognize the commercial subtext, perceiving advertising messages as friendly advice from a trusted person. The attention economy dictates its own rules. Content must retain the viewer at all costs. Social platform algorithms encourage emotionally charged, provocative material capable of eliciting an immediate reaction. This leads to a constant race for sensationalism, where authenticity is often sacrificed for engagement. The values and ideals broadcast by influencers are increasingly determined not by personal convictions, but by market conditions and sponsor requirements. It's surprising, but the child's psyche possesses natural defense mechanisms that automatically activate when confronted with intrusive ideals. It's akin to an immune system, but for the mind. Rationalization is one such mechanism. A child, seeing an influencer's unattainable lifestyle, starts explaining to themselves, "They just have rich parents," or "She probably spends all her time only on that." Such an explanation serves as a psychological shield, protecting self-esteem. Selective perception works no less effectively. A teenager's brain automatically filters information, highlighting what aligns with their experience and values, and ignoring the rest. Even when immersed in idealized content, the young viewer unconsciously selects only those elements that seem realistic to them. Psychological distancing is another spontaneous defense mechanism. Children intuitively separate virtual reality from their daily lives with phrases like, quote, or, quote. Such a demarcation of worlds helps preserve the integrity of the personality. These natural defenses form spontaneously, but they can and should be strengthened through conscious practices. Just as natural immunity is boosted by vaccination, a child's innate psychological resilience can be significantly enhanced through the development of critical thinking and media literacy. In the digital age, the ability to critically perceive media content becomes as fundamental a skill as reading or writing. Media literacy is not just a buzzword, but a true shield protecting a child's psyche from manipulation. The first step towards conscious content consumption is the transition from passive absorption to active comprehension. When a child begins to ask simple questions, a small revolution occurs in their consciousness. This transition doesn't happen instantly. It begins with curiosity, with the first doubts about the perfection of virtual idols. Basic critical thinking tools are accessible even to elementary school students. The 5 questions technique helps break down any content into components. Who is the author of the message? What techniques do they use to attract attention? What values does this content promote? How might different people interpret the same message? What is omitted or hidden? These simple questions become the foundation for developing analytical thinking. Another important tool is the traffic light method. A green light means verified information. Yellow means it requires additional verification. Red means unreliable or manipulative content. This visual system helps children structure the information flow and develop fact-checking skills. Gradually, young viewers learn to recognize emotional triggers and manipulative techniques used by content creators. They begin to see the difference between sincere self-expression and commercial promotion, between real experience and staged scenes. Critical thinking is like a muscle. It can and should be trained. I suggest several practical methods that will help children of different ages develop media analysis skills. For younger students, the game Content Detective works great. The child is tasked with finding 3 obvious advertising integrations and 3 hidden ones in a blogger's video. This turns passive viewing into an exciting investigation. Teenagers can practice the quote 1 technique, analyzing popular influencer photos, imagining what happened before and after the perfect shot. How many takes were made? Who was behind the camera? What filters were used? The content deconstruction method becomes a powerful tool. Suggest to the child to break down their favorite blogger's video into components: informational value, entertainment element, emotional triggers, and commercial message. Such an analysis helps to see what content is actually made of. For older teenagers, the translation from the language of manipulation technique is effective. The task is to rephrase an influencer's emotional statements into neutral facts. For example, "This incredible cream changed my life," turns into, "I am promoting a cosmetic product for which I receive remuneration." This practice develops immunity to marketing tricks and emotional manipulations. Adults play a crucial role in shaping children's healthy attitudes toward digital idols. Parents and educators are the first line of defense against the negative influence of idealized content. But how does one find a balance between total control and complete freedom? The answer lies in a strategy of co-consumption of media. Simply being present while children watch video blogs opens opportunities for unobtrusive dialogue. Or, such questions naturally develop critical thinking without moralizing. The method is particularly effective when an adult doesn't criticize directly but delicately expresses surprise. "I wonder if this cream really works wonders, or if the blogger was just well paid." This encourages the child to independently ponder the authenticity of the content. It's important to remember, direct criticism of beloved influencers often triggers a defensive reaction and rejection. Instead, Parents can model a healthy attitude toward media through their own example. By commenting on their own experiences, "I noticed that after an hour on Instagram, I feel worse. Now I limit my time on the app." Adults demonstrate conscious content consumption. Educators can incorporate media literacy elements into the educational process, analyzing popular videos, dissecting advertising integrations, and creating their own content as an alternative to passive consumption. The main thing is not to demonize digital culture, but to teach children how to navigate it, maintaining critical thinking and self-respect. Developing one's own stance toward influencers is not an instantaneous process, but occurs through several sequential stages. The first stage is uncritical admiration. At this stage, the teenager fully embraces the conveyed images, perceiving them as absolute truth. The influencer becomes an undeniable authority, and their life a paragon of perfection. The second stage is the emergence of doubts. Gradually, contradictions accumulate between the idealized image and real experience. The teenager begins to notice inconsistencies, exaggerations, and elements of staging. The third stage is active skepticism. Here, a kind of rebellion against former idols takes place. The young viewer starts to question every word and action of the influencer, sometimes falling into the other extreme, total denial. The fourth stage is balanced assessment. At this stage, the ability to separate the valuable from the manipulative, the sincere from the staged, is formed. The teenager learns to see the person behind the image, acknowledging both strengths and weaknesses. The final stage is selective borrowing. Here, the young person consciously chooses useful elements from the content, adapting them to their own values and goals, without losing individuality. The most powerful shift in relationships with influencers occurs at the moment of transition from consumption to creation. When a child or teenager picks up a camera and starts creating their own content, the entire paradigm of media perception changes. Creative self-expression becomes not just a hobby, but a tool for re-evaluating imposed ideals. Young creators quickly discover how difficult it is to achieve that perfect shot they are accustomed to seeing from their idols. They learn firsthand how many takes are required for a spontaneous video, how much effort lies behind every easy achievement. This practical experience provides something that no theoretical criticism can: a deep understanding of the mechanisms of illusion creation. A teenager who has filmed and edited their own 2-minute video will never again look at influencer content with the same eyes. They see the technique, the tricks, the editing cuts, all the behind the scenes that was previously hidden. Moreover, creating alternative narratives allows for the formation of new, healthier models of influence. When children film content about their real hobbies, unretouched appearances, genuine emotions, they create a counterweight to the glossy reality of commercial influencers. These small pockets of authenticity gradually form a new culture, a culture of embracing imperfection and valuing authenticity. There's a golden mean even in our relationships with digital idols. We shouldn't choose between blind adoration and cynical denial. There's a third way. Imagine media consumption as a dialogue, not a monologue. You can simultaneously appreciate an influencer's talent and ask uncomfortable questions about their content, admire their creativity, and notice their sponsored integrations. This duality isn't a contradiction, but a sign of mature perception. A healthy relationship with digital authorities is built on 5 principles. The first is mindful consumption. Choose when and how much content to consume, making it an active decision, not an automatic habit. The second is emotional distance. You can enjoy content without creating the illusion of a personal relationship with its creator. The third is contextual perception. Remember that behind every perfect shot are hours of preparation, a team of specialists, and commercial interests. The fourth is selective borrowing. Take inspiration and useful ideas, but adapt them to your own reality. The fifth is maintaining individuality. Your uniqueness is more valuable than any trendy image. True balance comes with understanding. Influencers are neither gods nor enemies, but ordinary people creating a specific product. By acknowledging their talents and achievements, we retain the right to our own opinion and choice. This is how a new culture of media consumption is formed: conscious, critical, and yet open to the new.